What's going on, DMG Clan? Today, I'm going to answer an unsolved question that a lot of you have asked me in the past and present. Why do I choose standalone emulators over Retroarch for my retro gaming? So today, I'm going to level up your gaming knowledge as to why I personally use standalone emulators for my retro gaming. So a big question that I end up getting on the channel quite often is that why am I using standalone emulators over Retroarch? More of a personal thing, but it's also an ease of use thing, if that makes sense. Whereas setting up a standalone emulator, like gbc.emu for example, is so much easier than having to go into Retroarch and try to figure out what core, and then you're like, what does that mean? What core what? That you have to download and install, because there's multiples of them. So if I go into Retroarch here, click allow, and get to this menu, you're looking at a menu UI that is like, what am I doing here? Load core. What the heck does load core mean? Well, now I just pressed the wrong button. Download a core, install or restore a core. Okay, what does that mean? And some people don't understand what that means. And that is one major reason why I do this. And now I have to search through all of these alphabetically, or I can use the search bar. And then I'm like, where is the one for Game Boy? Oh, there it is right there. And then you look at it and you see there is Nintendo Game Boy, which uses Gambit, which is what the core for gbc.emu uses, by the way. Gambat or Gambit, whatever you want to call it. And then you have Gear Boy, you have Same Boy, TGB Dual, whatever the heck that is. And then we have our Game Boy Advance, and then you're getting into a whole different ball game. Then you have Nintendo GameCube Wii, which is using the Dolphin backend, which is not good whatsoever. And yeah, we're getting a little bit off topic here. Now we're in the NES section, and which one do you download for the NES? Right? That is some things that people are like, I don't know how to use this thing. And whereas a standalone emulator, you go into it, you go to open content, select file path, browse for a folder, and then you're going to search for the folder wherever your games are located. Like mine are in my emulation, my ROMs folder, and then my Game Boy folder. Use this folder, click allow, and technically I could just select that game and start playing if I wanted to. Now, of course, I would want to change the graphics and stuff like that, but that is pretty straightforward to set up. So if I go back, and go to options, and then I look for video settings, I can change all that kind of stuff very easily because it says video settings for this specific actual emulator. So video settings, I like to turn on overlay effect. If I like to do my scan lines, image effect, scale ×2, turn that off. Now I got my nice little over effect, and I can just start playing my game. I don't have to worry about searching through a whole bunch of nonsense. As you can see, I'm playing my game already. Everything's working the way I want it to. Maybe I want to change that overlay effect. I don't want to have any scan lines. Turn that off, and then just continue playing where I left off. So again, now we're back into Retroarch, and I'm looking for the Game Boy emulator, so I'm just going to search for it, and go like this, Game Boy. Nothing's displaying. Okay, well that's not working, so GB... Nope, still nothing. I don't know. This is just not right? Like, that's one big thing where it's the search doesn't work the way you'd think it would work. It's not looking for the subcommands of what this is. It's just looking for the emulator. And then you don't know which emulator to choose. So now I'm scrolling. Nintendo Game Boy. Okay, there it is right there. Gambit. Downloading core. Okay, now what do I do? What do I do from here? And that's one big thing that a lot of people run into, because they're like, how do you use this? How do you use this convoluted, not sure why some people recommend this, AI, or UI, not AI, UI, and then you're like, okay, load content, file browser, what do I do now? Oh, okay, maybe that's my, yep, okay. And this is what people run into. And I've had people come to me and be like, I don't understand how to use this thing. Now, there, I finally loaded a game, but how did I do that? You know, like that is one big thing. And then how do I change settings to get rid of these on-screen buttons? Do I press this button? Okay, they're gone. Okay, and now there's the menu button. How do I change settings for the actual screen display. Let's go to video. And like, I know how to use Retroarch, by the way. I'm just, you know, playing it off as somebody that's kind of new to this. Integer scaling, scale video integer steps, and it's just, it gets into an area of ease of use. So it's really not a thing of, I hate Retroarch. I think Retroarch as an idea is nice, but it really is a confusing interface. It's a confusing application that a lot of people don't know how to use. I've only used Retroarch now on my PS4, only because I find that it is kind of simple to set up on the PS4. It's also simple to set up on like the Nintendo 3DS and stuff like that. But I wish that there was more standalone emulators. Like even on my Nintendo 3DS, whenever I use it, I go to the standalone MGBA emulator for GBA because I think it works a lot better. I go to the standalone SNES emulator because I think it works a lot better, and the NES emulator because there are standalone ones for the GB or the Nintendo 3DS. However, when it comes to Android emulation, for example, or even on my PC, I still choose the standalone ones if I can, if there is any. Now, for Game Boy Color and stuff like that, I don't really go into my Asus ROG Ally, for example, and play on that for Game Boy or anything. I usually just play it on my Android gaming device. But again, standalone emulators are just as easy as just going like this, open content, select file path, browse for a folder, then go to your emulation, go to your ROMs, and then look for, if you have any Mega Drive games on here. Do I? Right here. Use this folder, click allow, and now I can just jump into some Jurassic Park and start playing it. And again, of course, you can just change like certain settings and buttons and stuff like that with this, but the menu UI of the standalone emulator is so much simpler than having to configure and mess around with figuring out which Sega emulator you have to use, or backend, which is what this is doing the same thing of. I've looked at the source code of all these .emu emulators, and they're using just these same backends that most of the cores are being set to when you download those cores for Retroarch, for example. So again, I'm just going to go into my overlay effect. I'm going to change this to high quality. No, I like scale 2x, and now it looks really good, and now I can just continue playing my game. And of course, again, it's just like a personal thing, and that is why I choose playing standalone emulators or using standalone emulators, because I can just jump in and start playing right away, whereas Retroarch takes a lot of time to configure and set up, and I find it super annoying to do. I really just want to jump in and play my game. I don't want to sit there and try to like wonder what I'm supposed to use, how I'm supposed to use it, all that fun jazz, because it's really annoying. That is why I choose standalone emulators over Retroarch. There's so many other things I could have mentioned, and I really don't need to go into it other than the fact that it's more of a just how easy it is to use standalone emulators over Retroarch. Have a nice day, guys. I love you all. See you next time.